Okay, pretty sure it's official my computer hates me. We're gonna try this again. So my computer just sort of randomly decided that there was an error and restarted in the middle of going through the first question. So we're gonna start over. That's why there's writing on this already. But I only did the first question. So I'd say recap, but you couldn't see the previous video. IDB is what I am going through, so if you have A or C, you're going to have to go through and find the matching question, because they were all in a mixed order with mixed options. So it's all the same information, just you're going to have to search for it. The first question is going to be one about the television times. So here it says the average time T in minutes that a person in the United States watched television per day during the period 1950 to 2000 can be modeled by the function below, where X is the number of years since 1950. Therefore, X equals 0 is going to be 1950. I'd accidentally written T the first time. Now, they also give me an equation here. So I need to use that to help me answer and figure out which ones are not true down below. So what I'm actually going to do down below is I'm going to put whether these are true or false next to it. So for A, well, 1975, that's going to be when X is 25. So if I go through and I'm like, okay, if I plug 25 in, I want to see if that is 378 minutes. So in your calculators, you would go through and say, okay, what is T equal to when I plug 25 into my equation? Well, it's actually equal to 378. So if it equals 378, this is going to be true then. Now for B, it's saying, hey, 1950, well that's when X is 0, so I'm going to go up here. If I plug 0 in, these terms cancel out, they disappear. So T is just equal to a 265 over 1, or 265. So since that's the number they gave us, so this one is also going to be true. Now, C is the one that's a bit more complicated. So C, if we read it, it says, okay, from 1950 to 2000, so I have a time frame, those are going to be X values. It says the amount of television a person watched per day increased at an average rate of 9.0127 minutes per day each year. So what I want to do is I want to say, okay, I'm going from X equals 0 up until X equals 50. I know what this is already from up here. It's 265, but I don't know what X of 50 is yet. I would need to find that value. And then an average rate is just a slope. So we would actually go through and say, hey, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This is a lot though. And even just getting to this point, there's a lot to decipher in this option. So what I would actually do is I'd be like, I know I'm going to skip this and look if I know anything about D. So D says, okay, from 1950 to 2000, the amount of television a person watched per day increased each year. So I would just go and I would say, okay, I want to know if it's increasing. Visually, that looks like it's going up. Now, what I want to do is say, okay, well, what if I just graph this in my calculator? What would this look like? Well, it's just a line with a positive slope. It's a straight line with a positive slope. Weirdly enough. Ish. At least on this interval, it looks like that. So this one is also true. So if I know this is true, and this is true, I can eliminate this one and say this is the false one. This one's going to be my answer here. I don't even have to go through and do any of this. So, if you need time to get any of this down, go ahead and pause it. Question 2 is about buying some t-shirts. So it says, okay, the cost to buy silkscreen t-shirts is $11.55 per t-shirt plus a one-time silkscreen setup fee of $30. Now, which function models C of X the average cost to buy X silkscreened t-shirts? So this is our average cost equation. It says, hey, if you want to know how much it costs on average, you say, okay, I need my total cost for my shirts. So this is going to be your total cost plus your fee divided by the number of things. So in this case, if I wanted to know my total cost of the t-shirts, that's $11.55 per t-shirt. So I'm going to have an $11.55 per t-shirt times the number of t-shirts I have. We'll call that X. Now I'm going to add on that fee. 30. So then that gives me my actual total cost overall. And if I want to know an average, I just divide by the number that I have. So if I divide this by x, that will tell me my average cost, C of x. So if I look at my options here, I can say, okay, F is out. H is close-ish, but it's still not quite right because that 30 down on the bottom, the x is on the wrong number here, it should be over here. Then I look at G, and it's like, okay, this matches exactly what I'm looking for. And then J, well, once again, that x is just on the wrong portion here. J would probably be the most likely wrong answer. Make sure your x is on the thing that determines its cost. Now for 3, it says the number of lawns L that a volunteer can mow in a day varies inversely with the number of shrubs S that need to be pruned that day. If the volunteer can prune 6 shrubs and mow 8 lawns in one day, then how many lawns can be mowed if there are only 3 shrubs to be pruned? So one of the key things that helps us is this word here, inversely. So, inversely, always think y equals a over x, or a equals x times y. So, what that means is I can find an a value here. A is going to be 6 times 8. Now, a is 6 times 8, so a 48 here. Now I just say, okay, well I know y is equal to a 48 divided by x, which in this case is my 3 shrubs. So you could go on your calculator and say, okay, well what is 48 divided by 3, which gets you the 16, which is answer B here. So, once again, make sure you're pausing, going and finding the right questions, because they're not all in the same order. So, next, if you're in B, then you are at the free response, which I'm going to do a separate video on, and then the next page is also free response. So flip one page farther, and then we are at the calculator inactive portion. So here it says, a graph of the rational function f is shown. Which of the following statements are true? So we need to go through, and once again we need to say, okay, is this one true, false, true, false, true, false? Don't even look at the answer options for these ones. They're not helpful. They aren't going to do anything for you. These are what matter. So, first one, it says, okay, there is a horizontal asymptote at y equals 2. Well, first thing is to say, okay, is y equal to horizontal? Is this even a true statement? Y equals 2 is horizontal because that's saying, hey, if I go to 2, all my y values are 2 on this line. So that line is where it's equal to 2. And drawing that in, I can see, hey, that is an asymptote. My graph is trying to come down and touch this line, but it can never make it there. And over here, it's trying to come up, but it's never going to make it there. So this one is going to be true. Now it's saying, hey, there is a vertical asymptote at x equals 0. Well, we know x equals 0 is going to be a vertical line if y is a horizontal line, and that would be this line right here at my values where it's 0. So once again, if I look at my graph, oh, this way it's coming up, it's trying to get to that point, but it keeps curving farther up so it can't ever touch it. And here it keeps curving down so it can't ever touch it. So this one is actually also going to be true. Then the last one, it says f of x is greater than 0 on the intervals negative infinity to -1 and 0 to infinity. So the key thing is to recognize that that's just function notation for your y values. So it's saying, hey, if I'm at -1 right here, and I look to the left, are all my y values above the x-axis? Okay, so the first interval, that checks out. Then it says, oh, well, what about from 0 to infinity? Well, 0 is here. So it's saying, okay, on this interval here, are those ones all greater than 0? Well, I have to draw up to all of them. So yes, they are. So this one is actually also true. So final answer is going to be C, 1, 2, and 3. For 8, says which table models inverse variation? So the key with this is to think about what that A is equal to. Inverse variation says A is equal to an X times Y. So what I want to do is check my X times Y. As soon as I find something that is different, it is no longer that one. So here, if I multiply 1 and 1/2, I get 1/2. And a 2 times 1, well, that gets me a 2. So already off to a rough start. This one doesn't work out. For H, okay, multiplying, we get 12. Okay, multiply, we get 12, 12, and 12. So H, likely candidate. Just in case we did our math wrong, we always want to double check the others. 1 times 5 is just 5, and 2 times 10 is 20, so this one is not going to work out. Here, 1 times 9, well, that gets me 9. 8 times 2, that gets me 16. That one is also not going to work out. So, final answer, H. So, as a reminder, you have to complete this if you want to do the multiple choice retake on Monday. The questions will look very similar. Come in ready. It shouldn't take too crazy long. And then the free response is due on Friday for correction. So I'll have a video for that as well that I'm hopefully going to post tonight. As always, if you have questions, send me an email or a thing through our class website.